Welcome to the Dallas Duo Podcast,
your weekly wellness coffee date.
I'm Whitney Stuart.
And I'm Andrea Overturf.
We're friends in Dallas, always looking for the best ways to optimize our health. We are joined by Autumn Michaelis, a homegrown recipe creator, mama of 5 boys, and founder of Whole Food for 7. All of Autumn's recipes are easy, gluten-free, dairy-free, and family-friendly, perfect for busy households who want simple, nourishing meals.
Autumn holds a BS in exercise physiology from BYU and is an ACSM certified personal trainer, though she shifted her focus from fitness to food after seeing firsthand how much nutrition can impact energy, digestion, and long-term health. Her family of 7 has been following a paleo-ish approach for over 8 years, and she's passionate about making meal planning manageable and stress-free for families. Autumn recently moved from Northern California to Utah County, and when she's not in the kitchen, she's out hiking, camping, or adventuring with her boys. We can't wait to dive into her story, tips for feeding a big family, and the philosophy behind her popular meal plans.
Welcome. What a fun excuse to hang.
I know. I feel like we have to share a little bit about how we know each other because we've known Autumn for quite some time.
2017. So in 2017,
Wow.
we all became Whole30 certified coaches. Andrea, I don't know if both of you were. I know, Andrea, you were like
Andrea
an
was
inaugural
first.
coach. Yeah, like you were one of the first Whole30
It was like the only
coaches.
person that wasn't medical.
Yeah. It was either medical or you already had a cookbook. So I did have a little bit of imposter syndrome in that. And I was like, whoa, yeah, it was either one of those 2 camps in the first group.
It was you and
Mel.
yes,
Jawan,
and the Real Food
Real
Dietitians.
Food, yeah.
I think you came on next before I did.
I was one of the first group to test. So like I was one of the people who you had to take tests and actually certify. And I was one of the first to do so. Yeah, I think you were just before me.
Did you have to send in the video? I remember having to do a video. I had never recorded a video before, and it was like a video interview. And I was like, did it work? I remember.
And then like a month after I started working for Whole30, like helping run the coaching program, which was really fun because then I got to interact with y'all a lot more often. And we were just like figuring things out. Like it was a kind of a pioneering of like.
It was like a startup.
Yeah.
It was run like a startup kind of.
Sharing nutrition, like none of you are, Whitney, but Andrea and I, like we weren't nutrition experts, but we were just so passionate about food can change things and everybody needs to know. Yeah.
Well, even then, I mean, I was just finishing up grad school. So
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah, it was an exciting time, though, because I feel like it gave so many of us, just a different platform and opportunities to grow and learn.
well, and there was so
Education.
much evolution in food at that time. I think about how many companies were really growing their business
Yeah.
at that time, growing paleo companies and like launching meal services, Territory Foods, The Good Kitchen, The New Primal, right? Like all of these companies who were just babies at that point that now are not.
Yeah, I mean, even companies that had products, because, when we all joined, it was like, oh, we were making our own mayo.
Making
because there was
everything.
not one you could buy.
Primal Kitchen Mayo didn't exist. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a different time.
Or like making your own barbecue sauce. So intensive.
And then it was fun because I got to come to Dallas and hang out with y'all when I did my cookbook tour. And that was really fun to hang out in real life. And that was one of my favorite cookbook tour stops because Dallas and you two put together is just so fun. And we ate such good food.
Book tour was packed for that. It was so freaking busy.
You had
at Communion.
You had a lot of people. And then it was fun, too, because that's when we went to Unrefined and
Oh,
Pilates.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I totally forgot
We
about
just made
that.
a day of it.
I would hang out with y'all any day. It was so fun.
Well, and then you ordered, because we talked about this on the Unrefined
Yes.
episode. You ordered a cake, a birthday cake, wedding cake.
Yeah. So Unrefined and I have hung out a lot. Virtually speaking, like they did my birthday cake for a couple of years because I was like, I'm not okay with subpar birthday cakes. Like I need this. And then they also did my son's wedding cake because his wife is allergic to dairy and most nuts.
So I didn't know that. And they told us on their podcast. And I was like, oh my gosh, how cool.
Yeah. Yeah. That came up just a couple weeks ago.
Dallas is a great spot for good food. That's for sure.
Well, and you've moved. So you're in an area now adjusting to that move. How has life been? I know that your family is so outdoorsy. You're always my go-to for if I'm going to hike anywhere. I'm looking through photos to see if you guys have been there and done that. Ultimate boy mom. But how has it been living somewhere where you have access now more readily to family and forest?
Yeah, I mean, we love California. I think is top tier as far as national parks and beach and mountains. And Utah has a lot of outdoors for sure. Like I appreciate like the red rocks and the mountains and I do miss the beach. I don't know that I'd recommend. We've moved a lot. Like this is our 11th house in 25 years of marriage.
Wow.
So we've moved a ton through my husband's career. And this is the first time we moved with teenagers. And Andrea, I know you can relate. Like it's a whole different ballpark because when they're 5, they go out on the playground and they like, hey, you want to be my friend? And they're friends. Whereas you move them when they're 13 to 17 years old and it just takes a little more time. So moving with teenagers was a lot, but we've been here a year now and they're all happy and actually glad we moved, which I didn't think I would hear from them that quickly. Wow. So it's been good. It's been a good family change.
That's awesome. How long has it been since you moved? Sorry, I might have missed that.
A little over a year. So it was 4 days before Christmas in 2024. 0 out of 10 recommend moving before Christmas, but we did it anyways. Wow. And we survived.
So I'm interested. There's so much I can say. Like Autumn, like your cookbook has become kind of like a lifeline in my household. I'm like, oh, I should probably tell her that at some point. Now that I'm a parent,
you're a cute little man, yeah,
I get it, and he has celiac, and so this has been just such a we had this like uncontrollable diaper rash, and my doctor was like, I have a feeling that if you take this out, things might get a lot easier. And she was right. And I always said, I don't want to remove a food if I don't have to, which you understand. I can keep it big and whole I want to because parenting is already hard. But I'm interested in what spurred the paleo-ish move in your household.
Yeah. So my husband, we already talked about Whole30. My husband and I had done several Whole30s and realized that for us personally, gluten and dairy and refined sugar were not something we wanted to eat all the time. We weren't allergic, but we were sensitive and we saw changes in our sleep, our moods, our energy, my skin, my adult acne, like this long list of things that changed for us through food. Then the question is, how do we do this as a family? Because I'm not a fan of here's my adult meal and here's your kid meal. Like I did not want to be making separate meals for the rest of my life. And also like I wanted to extend those benefits to my kids. Like once you've experienced a really positive change, like of course you want that for your children. But I have 5 boys and that just felt really intimidating. Like,
Yeah, it's really intimidating.
How do I change the diet of 5 children when 5 kids is just a lot to keep up with feeding any kind of food? And so I hemmed and hawed and put it off for a long time because that really intimidated me. And so finally I was like, you know what? There's enough reasons, whether it's my kids. I had a kiddo who he said was spirited. Like he just screamed a ton. He had a lot of fits. I had kiddos who had stomach problems, bad sleep, skin problems, all things we could write off to be like, well, that's just growing up life, right? But I had this feeling like, I think food could improve this and I want to find out. So there's never going to be a convenient time to change your diet. You just got to do it and dive in. And so we did it in the summer of 2018. And we did it in the summer because in the summer, though your schedule is a little more dynamic, my kids were home. So at least I could have this controlled environment because, elimination protocols are science experiments. So you want to have like a clear answer. And so I told my kids why. I told my kids the benefits of what Dad and I had noticed. And I said, hey, what if we just try this? We're going to try this for 30 days. And the 30 days, you might think, oh, that's so the kids would sign up for it. No, it was so I felt like I could survive it. So I felt like I could do this. I'm like, it's just 30 days. You can do it. And I just picked 30 days because of the Whole30. Like elimination protocols, usually it's at least 3 weeks, if not more. So I said for 30 days for our family, they didn't need a Whole30. I wasn't interested in the whole gamut of like legumes and, all the things. So we just picked my 3 top concerns, which were gluten, dairy, and refined sugar. Because that's the things as a coach, I'd noticed the most changes in my clients. That's the things I personally had experienced the most differences from. Like, let's just see. So for 30 days, I researched the heck of it because as we were saying back then, there was not this wide variety of paleo, gluten-free, dairy-free commercial foods. Like, what the heck were my kids going to eat? And so I researched super hard and worked really hard to make sure they had options so they didn't feel. And actually, my kids said we felt like we had more options because instead of peanut butter and jelly, suddenly my mom's giving us, like protein balls and, like chicken, like homemade chicken and like all these things. And
yeah. I mean, the American diet is actually so limited.
Yeah.
It's pretty repetitive, right?
Yeah.
We didn't actually end on day 30 because we surprisingly got in a rhythm. And that's something I tell a lot of parents. Like you might be surprised how like flexible your kids are and how if you're consistent, how you'll adjust. Like everybody will adjust.
How old were the boys at that time?
I think my oldest was 14 and so my youngest was 6.
Well, and like you, so when I was, coming out of the Whole30 and really, okay, I want to make some big changes just in general. How we're eating, didn't want to do separate meals and dinners all the time. And so my kids were around the same age. And I look back now and I'm so thankful for that experience because it really did change how we eat as a family. And I think it kind of came along at just the right time when, your kids are forming those, I don't want to say tastes, but kind of their tastes and preferences. And so I think that it really did help us to set them up in a better way and to make healthy choices and balanced choices. And so I think it came along at a good time.
Well, and I will say, like, for me, my oldest was a teenager. He was 14.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes as parents, we feel like it's too late. Like, oh, because Melissa Urban, the creator of Whole30, like her kid grew up on meat sticks and like kale chips and things that my kids would not touch when we started this experiment. So realizing even if you didn't raise your child growing up on those things, you can still make changes. Like you're not too late, even if they already, And so, but it was interesting around like, I think it was like day 42. I was like, we should probably check in and see like, how are we doing? What do we think? Because the school year was approaching and we need to decide like, are we going to keep doing this? It was fascinating. I even pulled my kids aside individually so they wouldn't have that group mentality, feeding off each other and giving the same answer.
Yeah.
And like my 14-year-old was super happy because his athletic performance, he was a runner. He was having his best running times. He was finally sleeping through the night. He had sleep problems and his skin was clear. So he was like, I'm in. And he's actually been my one who's eaten that way strictly paleo since we did it, because for him, the differences are night and day. The one that fascinated me that I wish more parents were aware of is my kiddo who was my screamer, spirited kiddo who screamed probably a good couple of years of his life and just had a lot of big energy and big emotions that were really challenging as a family to respond to. He was so calm. Like he was so even keel. Like I would have paid good money to help him get to that point. But the cool thing was when I talked to him, because brothers noticed it and they're like, oh, this kiddo is so like, our brother is finally so calm. Like he's not screaming all the time. And I asked him and he said, and this one kind of cheers me up a little bit, but he said, Mom, I feel like I can finally be myself. Like he didn't want to have those big emotions. He just didn't know what to do with them. And suddenly when he had even blood sugar and for him, like gluten and dairy, like it just was reactive for him that he was finally able to be his best self. And once I heard that, I'm like, we're in, we are doing this. Like, I don't know how I'm going to do this past 30 days, but we're in it. And that's what started me writing recipes. Cause I'm like, now we need to eat well and enjoy food because I'm a foodie, but we're in this for life and so we do it at home. People always ask like, well, how do you control like your teenagers who have cars and debit cards? And we don't. So we control what we bring into the house. Like that's my job, right? Division of responsibility. My job is what I bring in the home, what I feed for dinner, and what I make available. It's their job whether they eat it, how much they eat of it, and then what they eat outside the home is their choice. And so most of my kids do eat gluten and dairy outside the home, but because 80 to 90% of what they eat is these whole foods, we've still seen incredible results. So it doesn't have to be all or nothing, and there can be some wiggle room.
That perspective, frankly, is so refreshing. I don't know a single person, online right now who's like, well, if that's being served at school, you just show up with your own organic chicken. And
and when you go to the birthday party, say no to the cupcake.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or if your friends are going to Starbucks, order an iced tea or a water.
Yeah. Don't participate. That's refreshing because I think there's a few things now that I'm in the toddler years, people are like, well, if you don't teach them how to eat vegetables now, they'll never eat vegetables. Like, right. There's these like very hyperbolic all or nothing statements that as a parent, frankly, scares the shit out of me. Because I'm thanks.
So
like my
pressure.
child is not eating green beans right now. So I guess he'll never eat green beans, or the food he's eating at school is going to ruin everything. Or, there's these situations that I'm dang, like if we could take a more nuanced approach to this, everybody might have a little bit more interest in participating in healthy options at home. Because right now it kind of feels like, well, if I can't go all in, might as well not go in at all.
Yeah, it still makes such a difference.
If you just control what you have at home and what's available, I think it makes more of an impact than you might think even at first.
Yeah, agreed.
Autumn, what always stands out to me about your recipes is, well, number one, you keep budget in mind. So I feel it's very, very accessible. And it's also things that are appealing to kids and families that are repeaters, what I like to say. Your chicken nuggets are like better than Chick-fil-A nuggets, are like that's a number one for our family. And then of course the Oreo truffles, those are
Of course.
but there's just like so many that I can think of. And I just think that that's what's drawn me to your recipes, but I think that that's also what draws others. So is that your approach? Just thinking through like, what's my family going to eat? What do they want?
Definitely. Realistic, family-friendly recipes has always been my goal because, again, I came into this scene in 2017 when that wasn't what the paleo world was. It was very much more an elitist, adult. Like I looked at paleo cookbooks as I'm trying to bring my family over to this. I think Jennifer Robbins had the only one. I got her cookbook that was kid focused, but the rest of them were like, okay, now you're just going to put the salmon and this nice little miso on top and things that I'm like, my kids will never eat that. And so if I'm going to tell them like, this is how we're eating and we can do this, I need to bring familiar favorites back.
Well, and it was very like component based, right? I felt like it was very much, well, here's a protein and a carb and your vegetable and you're done. It was boring.
Yeah. It was effective, but not like
boring or like super
but it wasn't
difficult
fun
with like 42 ingredients.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was the other thing. I'd open these cookbooks. I'm like, I do not have time or money for 22 ingredients and 13 steps to make dinner. Like an hour later, you made dinner. Now do it. Wash, rinse, repeat, 365 days a year. So I'm like, it's got to be approachable. It's got to be 30-minute meals are my jam. It's got to be kid friendly. And it was funny when I was writing my cookbook. My kids are honest, and it was great because I'd put something on the table and if they wouldn't finish it, it didn't go in the cookbook. Because I'm like, it doesn't matter if I think it's great.
Yeah.
If the majority of kids aren't going to eat it, then families aren't going to make it because most of us have kids that we need to feed and we want food that everyone can enjoy.
You had the best focus group.
I did.
We were saying in our last podcast, they're like, kids are really good at serving humble pie. You make things. When I make complicated meals, my son usually doesn't like it. He's like, I'll just take a cottage cheese. He just loves the basics sometimes. And I forget about that. Sometimes is that like they're not looking for it to be hard. So like you don't need to make it hard. That's something I think that we put on ourselves a lot of times. That like, well, this recipe, because it's complicated, will appease everybody. And that's not always true.
So your background is in exercise physiology and you're a personal trainer and you're still very fitness focused and it is a passion of yours. But what made you shift over into more food? Was it the recipes or starting to create content around it? How did that shift happen?
Yeah, actually that shift is how I got to food at all. So I was in the gyms and that was I was super passionate about exercise. And I thought that is how you get fit. Like that is how you live a good life is you go and you work out regularly. And I practiced it. I lived it. I was in the gym. And then I started to notice this disconnect that there'd be people who were literally in the gym 2 hours a day and they were strong as heck, but they didn't sleep well. Their joints hurt. They had digestive issues. They had skin problems. Sure, that one tiny component, but I wouldn't call them healthy. And I'm like, okay, there's a missing element if they're super strong, but they're not actually healthy. And so to his credit, the gym owner, he pushed me. He's like, we need to do a nutrition program. I think nutrition is a missing element. I'm like, no. And I didn't buy into it. I was like, no, food doesn't make that much difference. But he kept pushing and it was literally my job. So I'm like, sure, I'll run one. And I did my research and my husband had worked with a functional practitioner. And so he'd heard about Whole30. I'm like, sure, let's do this Whole30. And I would not have believed the results we got. Like anyone who hasn't tried an elimination protocol and personally tested how food affects you, it sounds made up. It sounds like you are writing headlines that aren't true. But I was floored because I had this pool of 100 people who did this challenge with us. And I kept hearing the same thing over and over again. Everything from sleep to digestion to skin to joint pain to mood, energy. You can't make this stuff up when you keep hearing it over and over. And then when you do it yourself, I always thought I was a chronic napper. That's just how I work. I need a nap every day to function. I have pictures as a child falling asleep everywhere. That's who I am, right? And I did the Whole30 and I was like, I have stable energy throughout the day. And I'm sure Whitney could dive into the blood sugar of it because I was also a sugar addict. So I just was on this roller coaster of like energy and then
Yeah.
crash.
High highs and low lows. They're fun.
Yeah. And so once I finally was balancing my plate, I had so much sustained energy and it was wild. Like you might think you have a pretty good quality of life, but I encourage you to try like adjusting your nutrition and you might be surprised because I was floored the things that can change through food. And once I saw that, we did 2 challenges. And once I saw that twice and realized like, this is the real deal. This is not just made up. I started shifting towards that because I'm like, yes, be fit and be strong and lift weights and have a good heart and bones and muscles. And also food is like 80% of your health. Like it just floored me.
I had the same kind of experience. Like I didn't really buy it at first. I read the book, The Whole30, and all my friends were talking about it at the time. I was like, this really, I mean, I don't know. I truly was like, this can't make that much of a difference. Like I'm already eating pretty what I thought was healthy.
Right. Me and my diet yogurt, we're doing great.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm eating my froyo with no sugar and Diet Coke and restricting more than I needed to. And so, to have that change was just night and day difference in 30 days, like is crazy. So similar, I can relate to that.
It's so crazy how quickly it changes for people. I actually ran a group program like when I was still in grad school that was a Whole30 for a gym. Roxanne's husband was actually a member. It was when Roxanne like had the twins. Like he's like, yeah, she's following, but like she's at home with the baby. And I was like, okay, you guys are crazy, like fit people. And I remember like some of those photos like will pop up in my iPhone album sometimes. And I'm like, how did this happen to these people? Because looking at it, you're like, oh, these people are CrossFitting 5 to 6 days a week. And you assume that they're eating well. But that inflammatory effect, that how quickly it shows in the body. And like you're saying, just from like a little bit of blood sugar balance and a little bit more fiber and antioxidant intake and less sugar, it's crazy to see the results of how different their body looked. And it's like, it's so effective as a catalyst tool. Like I tell people, like, if you're not doing
springboard.
like if you're not doing work in the kitchen, then your workout's going to be less effective. And so I always want everything I do to be efficient. So I'm like, well, I don't want to have to spend 2 hours in the gym if I don't have to, right? I want to be as efficient as I can with my time, both in diet and exercise and diet and lifestyle. What's going to get me there the fastest?
Well, what's interesting is people will ask me because they hear, oh, you're gluten and dairy free. You must be so healthy. And they're like, how do you stay good? Like, how do you stay, like, keep that way? And I'm like, okay, you don't understand. Like, this is not a wrestle I do every day. Because I did the elimination protocol and I have that feedback that I know for me personally, dairy and sugar are highly correlated with my adult acne. And I've struggled with acne for decades of my life. So I don't often eat dairy and refined sugar because it's not worth it to me. And gluten makes me behind my eyes tired. Gluten is very also an impact on my energy and my sleep. I have to nap when I eat gluten and it makes me mean, which sounds like I'm making it up, but I've tried it enough times that I used to yell at my kids and gluten makes me mean. And so once I pin down these things that for me personally, that's how these food works. It's not wrestle of, oh, I need to be good and not eat gluten today, or I need to be good and not eat so much sugar today. It's like, I can eat whatever I want, but I don't want to because I know I'm going to feel X, Y, and Z ways, or my skin's going to break out or whatever. And so I think once people understand the correlation between food and their personal health, it's not a battle. Like you don't have those food wrestles. It's like, I just don't want to.
It's almost like you think about food a little bit less once you get those things figured out.
Yeah. Well, and too, from the flip side, I have clients who are like, oh, I know I should avoid dairy, but I don't. And so I always ask, well, does it make you feel bad? And they're like, no. And I'm like, well, does it make, like, if there's no consequence, then it's actually the opposite. For me, I would never deviate from being gluten-free because the consequences are so severe, right? My brain sees it and it's like, no. Where for people who are avoiding things they don't need to be avoiding, I'm like, well, no wonder your brain doesn't give you, red light signals every time you go to eat it because there is no impact. And so it's always funny to break down with people on there probably is food you should be avoiding, maybe alcohol and added sugar, but maybe the fact that you're having dairy, maybe it is okay for you, right? Or maybe legumes are okay for you. And it's always good to get that feedback because you're saying your why should be so powerful that your body is helping you respond to that and say, that does not sound good to me right now. That is not going to feel good. I know tomorrow I'm going to wake up feeling anxious because of it. We have these learned experiences, but it's like, if the food is doing nothing to you, well, then, maybe we're okay.
Yeah. And I always loved what Whole30 taught me, which was to eat, like the goal is to eat as broadly as possible while still feeling as amazing as possible. Like the goal is not restriction. Like I do not recommend everyone, I do not think everyone should eat gluten and dairy free. Like you eat as broadly as you can while still feeling as amazing as possible. And that's going to look different for everybody.
What do you think are some of the biggest myths about feeding a family or feeding a large family that you would like to bust?
The biggest one is we don't have time, right? Like we don't have time to meal plan. We don't have time to make family dinners every night. And I understand that as a family. Like my kids do club sports. I have 5 children. Like I understand as much as anyone the busy nature of families. And also I think it's one of those situations where preparation can make things so much smoother. It's better on your budget. It's better on your mental health when you come into dinner knowing I know what's for dinner. I already have a plan. I already have groceries in the pantry. You just got to execute, which still takes energy. And sure, sometimes that you have to drag yourself into the kitchen to do it.
Whether you're cooking for 3 or 10, the concepts are the same, right?
And it's really not that much more time to double a recipe. It's just getting yourself, like getting a good plan in place and then getting the habit of executing.
I think that was actually one of your best like hot tips that I took away one time is I always try to double the amount that I'm making. And it hit me. I do this with all of my clients. I'm like, could that meal be doubled? Could that breakfast you have today, but then also have for tomorrow, could it serve an additional purpose? Because the kitchen efficiency strategy is not something that's taught anywhere. No one teaches you how to cook efficiently or cook at all. But I'm like, if I'm going to cook, I want it to be maximizing my time in the kitchen, especially in like Texas in the summer when it's hot. I'm like, okay, how quickly can we make this time work where it's hot in here?
I'm a big fan of that's why almost all my recipes, unless it's like broccoli salad or lettuce or, almost all my recipes are freezer friendly for that reason. Like you should never be making just one of something, like just double it. Even if you don't have a family my size, just double it. If you know you like it, double it, freeze it, eat it for lunches. Like it saves so much money and time later that you don't have to then put in that effort again.
Speaking of meal plans, what is your process for meal planning for a week, say, or 2 weeks for your family?
So it's changed. So currently I have a meal plan system that I developed because there was this gap, right? Like we all know we should meal plan. I don't know how accurate these numbers are, but from what I've seen, it says 35 to 45% of Americans meal plan, which is pretty small given that we're all eating dinner every day. Most of us have families.
100% of us are eating, but only a 30%. 100%.
Yeah. But it takes time, right? It takes time. You have to dig through, I saved that recipe on Pinterest or Instagram, or what are we going to make? And what will my family eat? And then, okay, I've got to write down all the ingredients of the for the recipes. And then I've got a grocery shop. And so I created a meal plan program that I select the recipes for the week for you, and you just choose which ones you do or don't want to make. And then it generates the shopping list automatically. And you can double or triple meals depending on your family size and your goals. And then it generates the shopping list. And then there's like a 1-button click that literally adds all the groceries to the Walmart cart. And then you can have it delivered. You can pick it up, whatever your MO. It takes me 10 minutes from start to finish with that. Every week, it just takes me 10 minutes. I just pick which recipes I want to make, figure out what ingredients I already have so I don't buy more of things I already have, and then send it to Walmart and it's delivered. And it's amazing, like so fantastic to have meal planning streamlined so it still happens, but it just doesn't have to take so much of your time.
Did that app come out of your selfish desire to be, I want to make this as efficient as possible? Or was it individuals who were reaching out and saying, I love these recipes, but I'm struggling to meal prep? Or like, how do you meal prep? Or which avenue, I'm interested, kind of led to the development?
Sure. I think I noticed the number one thing people wanted from me as a recipe creative. Obviously, I have a website with hundreds of recipes on it. I have my cookbook with 100 recipes in it. But people kept asking for meal plans because that is where the rubber hits the road. So it's great. You can have a Pinterest folder of 1,000 recipes, but that doesn't do you any good if you don't have them in a plan and groceries to make them. And so there was this disconnect that we can do ourselves. Like anyone can sit down, and the old school method is to sit down with your cookbooks and your piece of paper and say, I'm going to make these 5 dinners, and then write out all the ingredients. And you can totally do that. And it takes, a couple hours of your week, but people weren't. People weren't doing it. And then they are ordering takeout, or family dinners were happening less, or, things that we really value weren't actually happening. And so I was like, I need to, and my friend, one of my best friends who has 8 kids, said to me, she's like, can you just make a dinner time easy button for me? She's like, I know I should do these things. I'm not going to do them. Can you just hit like, I need an easy button. And that was the start of like, oh, she actually hired me personally to do this for her family, like kind of as a custom product. And then we were like, we need to offer this to everybody. Like everybody should be able to, in 10 minutes, have meals planned for their week and shop for that. All you have to do, I can't make the food for you. It's not a meal delivery service. Most of us, that's not budget efficient for a large family, but I can shop, meal plan, and like pick the recipes for you. And so it's been wonderful. I mean, it's helped hundreds of families get dinners on the table. And it's interesting. I was looking recently at the American Family of Pediatrics. They had a good compilation of the benefits of family dinners. Like we all know they're good, right? But once you start digging into the science, it was fascinating because not only is it like you're feeding your family, but kids whose families eat family dinners on a regular basis have better grades. They have better family relationships. They have better nutrition. Like they're more likely to eat a bigger variety of foods, fruits and vegetables, decreased screen time, decreased high-risk behavior, including addictions, and better mental health. Like all of those things we want for our children, and to realize that can happen if we make sure family dinners are happening. And so it's super motivating. Like this is something we need as a country, we need as individuals, is to make sure dinners are happening. And I'd love to be a part of making that simpler.
That's amazing. How long has the app existed and where can we find it?
My meal plans came out at the end of 2024. They went through a cool revamp this summer that made them more customizable. So you can select or deselect meals. You can change the meal serving size. So if you need a 2X, 3X, or even half the serving size, so it's customizable. That happened this summer. It's actually not an app because I had a lot of people tell me, so there's apps out there, like Real Plans is one that Whole30 used all the time. But what I kept hearing from my clients was that the apps were actually too complicated, that it was decision fatigue because they went into it to make their life simple, but they still had to make a ton of decisions of which recipes and which it kind of fried their brain and then they wouldn't use it. So I'm trying to take all the decision fatigue out of it. So it's through my website, wholefood47.com. The meal plans are available. It just takes out that mental load that we feel as parents, especially for me as a mom, and makes it so you can spend your time, doing the other things.
Okay.
Well, and I think that art of like delegation is so powerful. As a parent, I'm like, okay, what are the things that I am good at, that I'm efficient at, and that I enjoy? Like, I'm going to continue to do those things, right? Like, there are certain things I will never delegate out. But as a parent, there is oftentimes those hard choices where you're like, all right, what are the things I am so bad at that are time sucks that I'm probably not getting any better at soon, and that I don't want or have time to do better at. Yeah. And so it's like, if I'm not good at grocery shopping, or if like a lot of my clients, going to the grocery store is like so anxiety building.
That's
it
my
is
husband.
It's the worst experience of their life. And I'm like, that's interesting. I don't have that,
I like going.
I know. I like going to the grocery store.
So we always talk about like, okay, it is 2026, which means grocery delivery or grocery pickup could improve your quality of life by 10x, right? And then having a service that tells you what to cook because you don't care, right? You just want to eat gluten-free, or you just want to eat healthier for your family. There are these resources out there because I think we learn, like as parents, like we're not going to recreate the wheel every time. We need help. We need a village.
Repeater patterns that we can rely on, that we know are good, that we know everybody. So what's the process if someone goes onto your website and say they can like select recipes for the week and then also be able to grocery shop for them? Is that the flow of the meal plan?
With my meal plan, every week you get an email saying it's ready in the dashboard, and you go into your dashboard and it's already picked. So there's no decision fatigue. There's no like having which recipes should I put in my meal plan. It's here are the recipes for the week. And I include main dishes and side dishes because a lot of women struggle, or people who are making dinner struggle with, okay, what do I pair that with? Okay, I made the meat. Now what else are we going to have? And sometimes you're tempted to just put meat on the table because you're like, I don't want to make figure out the potatoes and the greens and the whatever. And so it includes dinners and sides, and you can just deselect. Like we, as a family, I don't cook 7 meals a week. We have pizza night, homemade pizza night every Friday night. So maybe you don't need 5 dinners a week. So you can deselect anything, or maybe there's just one that doesn't work for your family. You choose serving size, and then you push generate PDF. It creates a PDF that has the entire shopping list. It has notes and tips. It has a meal prep plan. So if you are super busy and you want to meal prep on the weekends, just take this one pager and it tells you here are the 8 things you can do to meal prep in 2 hours for the upcoming week. My recipes are already fast. Most of them are 30 minutes or less, but you can make it faster if you want to meal prep on the weekends. And then my favorite thing that is a fan favorite is there's literally like, here's your grocery list. You want to go to Whole Foods, you want to go to Sprouts, wherever you prefer to shop, here's your list. Go shop. But if time is of the essence for you, there's a one button click, you push it, and it adds all of the groceries to your Walmart cart. All of them,
Incredible.
every single ingredient. And then you go through, you're like, okay, well, I already have salt and I already have chili powder. And I don't, you know, like you need to skim it and make sure you don't double buy things. But the fact that it shops for you is like, I had someone say, they're like, I think my life is about to change. I'm like, I think it is. So you don't have to think about it.
It's almost like you're getting this like curated recipe concierge service from them. Like that.
And it's literally what I feed my family. Like, this is not like, oh, this is, everyone should eat this. This is great, but nobody really eats it. Like, no, these are like, literally, if I were to cook for you, these are the meals we'd be eating.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I feed my family. That's what I would recommend for you. They're realistic. They're time friendly. They're budget friendly, kid approved.
That's awesome. So is it a subscription then? You can pay for it?
Yeah, we do have a one-time bundle. If you really just don't like subscriptions, you can do a one-time purchase. But the better deal is a subscription. I'm going to do it on the fly. So anyone who's listening to that podcast, use the code START25 and you'll lock in 25% off. So normally it's $25 a month. You use START25, it'll knock it to $19 a month. And that's for the duration of your subscription. It's not the first month. It's the entire time you have a subscription. So for $19 a month, you don't have to think about what's for dinner. You don't have to grocery shop. It's just done.
I'm wondering if you looked at maybe in longer time spans, how much money people save. But the big thing, like for our household, is I'm like a no waste girly. So if something is about to go bad, I'm eating that for breakfast. I don't care.
Yeah.
And people will come to our, fridge on like Fridays because we don't cook on Fridays. We'll go grab something and they're like, why is your fridge so empty? I'm like, because I'm about to go to the grocery store. Like it's so empty. Yeah, we ate all the food that was in there. But the lack of planning and the lack of prep is what leads to more waste.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I bought that yogurt because it was on sale. And my husband, I'm always like, you have to audit the fridge first. You have to audit the pantry before you go shop. It's not appropriate, to come home with 24 ounces more of yogurt when we already have 64, whatever it is.
Right.
But that's where the savings, like you're saying, cuts down and saves people so much money when they prep ahead. And learning how much food you actually need to feed your family is one of the best things I've ever done.
Yeah.
So I think people either undershoot or overshoot. So when you have a plan built for you, you start to get that momentum of like, oh, this is how much food I need regularly to feed my family.
Yeah. And it's really cool. I asked subscribers because I was curious. I'm like, I'm claiming this is a budget-friendly meal plan. Like, let's make sure it really is. And so I asked my subscribers to give me honest feedback on how much you saved through these meal plans. And it will vary depending on how much you lean into takeout or what what you'd used before. But the average subscriber was saving at least $100 a week by having a meal plan. So it saves you money, it saves you time, and it just helps your mental health to like I think there's a lot of moms that it's our least favorite question is what's for dinner tonight, Mom? Because we don't know and we're tired of answering it. So just letting somebody else answer it.
Well, and I believe that as far as the savings, because even if you think about, oh, we're going to go to Chipotle, and I love Chipotle, but I'm like, for all four of us to eat at Chipotle, I mean,
yeah. We were talking about that the other day. Chase and I were at dinner and I'm like, it used to be like really relaxing when we came to dinner, the two of us. I'm like, but now when I see a large family walk in, I get really stressed out. I'm like, I wonder how much the bill's going to be. Like, how often?
At least $100. At least.
Yeah, I'm like, do they know how much they're going to spend?
And like Chipotle, I have a copycat recipe. You can make a Chipotle boat at home for $5. $5. You're paying $15 at the store.
Yeah, it's like fast food isn't a cheaper option anymore.
It's just our fun. I think it's a fun option.
Is there like one, I kind of have like two questions. Is there one thing in your pantry that you're, man, that's something that like always has to be there, like a non-negotiable? Like if somebody is making a swap or they're, what's one thing Autumn would have? Like a pantry staple, but also a tool. Like I think now about like my newlywed registry and I'm like, oh, I got that shit wrong. Like I'm like, there are so many things I would have put on that list. I wish you could have all the Lake Crusade back, okay? And like, but there are some things I wish I would have put on there instead.
Yeah.
It's an interesting question. I think the pantry staple would actually not be in the pantry, and I'm kind of infamous for it, which is using cauliflower in creative ways. It sounds terrible. It sounds like a bad TikTok reel. Like, why would I want to use cauliflower?
Interest reel.
This lady is using cauliflower. But here's the thing. I hate cauliflower. Like the flavor of it, I thought it was the worst vegetable known to man. There is no flavor to it. Like it's just
Yeah.
boring and bland and terrible. But that's why it's so fantastic because it can take on all the other flavors.
Mm.
So I use cauliflower in a lot of things and my kids eat them really well. For example, one hack everyone can do this week, if you're making a soup, any kind of soup that has broth in it, so like whether it's chicken noodle or potato soup or whatever, take the broth, steam a bag of riced cauliflower, blend them together. You do have to have a really good blender. So I have a Vitamix. The cheap blenders will make it chunky, which nobody wants. But if you have a good blender, blend them together. And now you've got a creamy sauce. Pour it back into your soup. Your soup is thicker and full of extra nutrients. And nobody's the wiser. Like it wasn't I do that all the time. I also put cauliflower in like my chicken nuggets. So many things, like finding those ways to put in vegetables. And it's not like I don't hide them from my kids. My kids know mom puts cauliflower in everything, but it doesn't matter if it tastes good.
Yeah. Cauliflower rice was the first thing. I mean, I roast it. I tell people never saute it.
Put it
Oh
in
my
the
gosh, it
oven.
gets so gross. I put it on a sheet pan and it was like the first vegetable that my son ate. And I was
that's
like, it just
awesome.
gave me hope. You know, I was like,
Yeah.
okay, maybe if I change the texture and put it in a way that's really approachable, then maybe he'll eat it. You know, and it was the first thing. And I'm like, okay, cool, we can do this. But also because I add so much spice to it
Right.
and it picks it up that way that I'm like, well, this is why he's eating it, right? Because it tastes good.
Well, and
Yeah.
you taught me to do frozen cauliflower in smoothies. So like that's another
I was going to say smoothies is a great way for adding these
integrate it.
veggies. Yeah. And I will say my favorite kitchen tool is an air fryer. If you don't have an air fryer, you need one. I love them. Like it's so great to get things crispy. I think it's great to involve kids if you want your kids more involved in the kitchen. Teenagers and kids naturally love an air fryer and it's fairly safe for them to use.
It's like the easy bake oven of our time, right?
Exactly. It feels like it's their size. My kids use it 5 times a day. Like they love the air fryer and it's a great way to re-crispify like veggies that are now soggy because they're leftover and nobody wants them. You put them back in the air fryer, they can get back to crispy. So love a good air fryer.
Well, I'm missing out. What's y'all's favorite? I need an air fryer.
Andrea, you don't have an air fryer?
Fryer?
I want
Did you see my face? I'm like,
mostly for the reason that my husband hates
We are shocked.
anything on the counter. So like, I'm so limited as to what's on the counter, but like I need one. I
you can replace your oven with it.
Yeah.
Like,
That's it. Oven's out.
No, I'm like the last person that literally doesn't have.
There is one at Costco. I'm trying to think of what brand it is. I'd have to actually go look. But there's one at Costco. I think it might be a Ninja brand, but it's one that flips down.
Oh,
same. That's how mine is. And
Okay,
I'm
then it
obsessed.
might be the same one. So it flips up. So it's because admittedly for my family, these little cute little tiny air fryers are not going to do anything. Like you put in one piece of chicken and it's full. So I don't think the small air fryers are effective unless you're a fan.
The toaster style. I'm a big fan. Like there's some arguments about like the drawer.
It toasts. Like you can get rid of your toaster. You can use it. I used it at Thanksgiving when my oven was full because I don't have a double oven. And then air fry, like get one that does multi-functions. And if it flips down, it's at Costco all the time, the one that flips down.
Okay. Mine was like, I think $200. It wasn't anything crazy.
so it justifies its space on the counter.
Yeah. So we obviously we didn't have a toaster anyways. I wasn't doing a lot of bread, but then I was like, wait, now we have a child. Children love toast. I feel like we're doing toast 24/7. So I'm like, I need a toaster. But then I was like, well, if I got the air fryer, it does all of it. So that was my justification. And it was we almost never use our microwave.
Yeah.
I have almost thought about replacing it for that reason.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Because
I'm like, there's so few times that we use it.
Yeah, you could reheat.
We use it for everything reheated.
Okay.
And honestly, during COVID, when we would order fries, this is such a first world problem, but if you order fries for pickup during COVID or anywhere, like as parents, we never go out to eat. If anything, we're picking up on Fridays. If I got fries, they would be soggy by the time I got home. And if I didn't have an air fryer, I would never eat fries.
Well, and I will say as a recipe creative, I've tested them side by side and on my website, I'll have side by side and it's not the same. Like people will be like, oh, well, I can do convection oven. And I've done side by side of like, here they are in my air fryer, here they are in my convection oven. It is not the same. Like air fryer is king for crispy.
I need it.
Yeah.
You convinced me. I'm going to Costco this weekend.
From like a heat perspective, for me, if I'm not doing full meal prep, I use our oven on meal prep days on Sundays, but during the week, I only use the air fryer.
Oh.
And it saves, like it's quicker. And I feel like comfortable I'll put multiple layers of stuff in there to cook, salmon and veggies, cauliflower rice, whatever. And it comes out so much quicker. But like in the summers, like the kitchen doesn't get hot. Like it's easier to clean up. I have like the little parchments in there that I just throw away. Like
the
it's
liners.
so
Yeah.
simple.
You
So
gotta
now
go
that
to
we've sold air
Costco.
fryer, hello Ninja, sponsor us.
Yeah. We'll link that in the show notes.
Code Duo20. Okay, thinking back about your evolution, just like how far you've come in your own journey with like meal efficiency and now like doing it so well for yourself that you can also help others. What is like your best piece of advice looking back? Is it like give yourself grace or like what's the thing that looking back to like the version of you 10 years ago who started this journey that you'd be like, man, I wish she would have known?
Like overwhelmed you. What do you wish overwhelmed you would have known?
I mean, I think we've kind of already talked about it. I was very overwhelmed by the idea of changing my family's diet to anything, to whatever. Like I said, I think healthy is relative to whatever that is. I felt like I couldn't, like my kids wouldn't let me, which is so funny to say. Like we're the grown-ups, right? Like we're in charge. But I was
Are we?
really overwhelmed. As well said by a mother of toddlers. It is realizing we set the tone and that kids are incredibly adaptable. I mean, for us communicating, like, this is why these are the things we've seen change from food. And we want that for you. Like, don't you want less stomach problems or acne or whatever? This is why we're changing. We're going to give it a chance. And then being consistent. And I'm convinced being consistent as a parent is one of the hardest things we'll ever do in any arena. Being consistent is exhausting, but finding a path, like I said, for us, it started with Whole30 for me and then was gluten-free, dairy-free, refined sugar-free for my kids. But finding a path and being consistent on it long enough for it to get comfortable, long enough to build a vocabulary of food and things, and everyone give it a try. And I'm not going to say my kids eat everything I put in front of them. They don't. Absolutely, they don't. Like, there's still some things my kids don't prefer, but we've created a household environment where this is what we're eating and they can choose to eat it or not, but they are more likely to give it a try. I don't know that my kids have ever complained about being gluten-free, dairy-free. And that was my big concern, was my kids are never going to go for this. And we just did it and made it normal. And I worked really hard to make sure it was delicious. But so not be so intimidated by changing your kids, the way the kids eat. I will put a disclaimer that there are sensory disorders that make the situation unique. So I'm not going to say this is a blanket statement that works for everybody, because we have sensory disorders or autism or things like that in our family that is incredibly challenging in a whole different situation. But for the average child, be consistent with your changes and give them options and just keep at it.
Well, and when it's the norm, right? Like the one thing I think in our house is I'm like, I don't have anything else. If this isn't what you want, like these are your options, but I'm not running to the store to pick up.
Make sure they always have chicken nuggets in the freezer that they can eat when they don't like dinner. Yeah.
This is just the norm. And so I'm like, whether that makes me a hard ass or just, budget friendly, I don't know. But I'm like, at the end of the day, I'm like, this is what we're having for dinner. And I hope that you decide eventually to partake in, some version that we're having, because I didn't grow up in the family that said like, well, kids meals versus parent meals, like you're saying, like that was so important to my family. It was like, we're all sitting down together and we're all hopefully eating some version of it.
Well, and that's something I realized, like I absolutely empowered my children's pickiness by giving them cop-out options. And that's the responsibility I had to take as a parent, that I created that situation where my kids were embarrassingly picky, like go through a church potluck and all they came out with was rolls and shredded cheese on a plate. And that's all they were going to eat. It was so embarrassing. But I created it I let them eat pretty much whenever they wanted. So they were eating all day long and then not hungry at dinner time because they were snacking. Giant bowl of goldfish, an hour before. They knew if they didn't eat dinner because they didn't think it was the funnest thing to eat, that they could go get a backup food later. So I think that we have to take responsibility as parents, that we empower the pickiness by providing an open door to the kitchen and then endless options that they don't have to eat or try new things, which is hard to admit that, we kind of propelled their pickiness, but it can shift. Like that can change.
But like we've talked about this on like multiple podcasts, but no one teaches you how to parent. No one teaches you how to eat healthy. No one teaches you the definition of healthy. So, you just have to be open, honest, and like curious to the idea. Like you're saying, like, let's just try this and see. Let's just see.
And sometimes
does it make us better?
The example, the kids see you doing that makes a big difference too. It's not just, you're eating something different and then they are.
Well, and find great recipes. That's why I do what I do, because it's
Yes.
funny. One of my sons right now has to be strictly gluten-free, dairy-free because he's had some gut issues. And so even outside of the home, he's eating gluten-free, dairy-free, which has spurred some conversations. And his girlfriend said, okay, but what's healthy mean? She meant gluten-free, dairy-free, that actually tastes good. And he was like, Mom, quick, what do I tell her? And I was like, invite her over for dinner. Are you kidding me? Like everything on my website, like everything is gluten-free, dairy-free and delicious. So digging in and finding the right resources, because they're so available now.
Yeah. The
Sure.
accessibility has been a huge thing.
You run a brand and your household of, 7. How do you balance work and family and self-care? Like, are there any things that you do to keep yourself feeling grounded?
For sure. I mean, you have to, right? To not lose your mind when you're a mom of 5 kiddos. I've never been hesitant to do things for myself, meaning I don't feel bad going to the gym. I go to the gym 4 or 5 times a week. I don't feel bad carving out time for that. Like this morning, to be available for this podcast, that meant I had to make sure husband was taking kid to jazz band early in the morning. And then I told the rest of the teenagers, make sure you're up, make sure you're out the door. I'm off. I'm going to be at the gym. And I don't feel bad doing that, because if we don't take care of our needs, we don't have the capacity. It's the age old, you got to fill your own cup. And so I don't feel bad doing things for myself. I take adventures with my sister and like do things without my kids, and I love them, but I don't feel bad leaving them, because that's how I make sure, like making sure we're whole people and moms, because otherwise we're just drained and running on fumes. So I do a lot of self-care. Gym is a big one. I'm very religious, so I read my scriptures every morning and connect with a higher power, because that grounds me. I eat well and intentionally. I make time to date my husband, like things, and make sure I have relationships outside of my children. And I don't think as moms, we need to feel bad or justify that. It's funny to me, the conversations when we're like, oh, I feel so bad. I'm like, why? Like, but I never have. Like, I don't have an issue with that, because I'm like, I got to take care of me or I can't take care of them. The end.
No, I think that's such an important just note to hit on, because, you have to take care of yourself. We're all better parents, and, when we do that.
And what are we teaching our kids? Like, I have 2 kiddos who are helper people pleasers. What are we teaching our kids if it's you run yourself into the ground taking care of other people and you are last? Like, I have to say to my 13-year-old all the time, your needs matter too. Your needs matter too. And we need to teach that to our kids by living it.
Well, and honestly, this had come up, like, I think at Bible study a couple weeks ago. They were talking about, like, when you are constantly the yes person, like, the value is just less. When you're constantly trying to pour from an empty cup, I'm like, no one wants that water. No one wants that, like, old water that hasn't been refreshed. I'm like, I want to be able to pour from a full cup. And so that also takes sacrifice to then say, like, well, I can't say yes all the time to you, because I have to say yes to me.
Yeah.
And so there's that balance, I'm like, I want to give good quality yeses so that it ends up being worthwhile.
Yeah. And I think it's important to teach kids that the family unit runs as a unit, right? And so you have to take turns prioritizing each other's needs to make sure. And then your kids don't grow up selfish. Like, they grow up used to, like, okay, there's a give and a take in a family situation.
And everyone's pitching in and helping, and
So powerful. Okay, before you go, we have some rapid fire question favorites for you.
I'll go. Okay, except I kind of want to change this first one, because it says, what's your go-to 20-minute dinner? And like, you touched on that a little bit, that like 30-minute meals are your favorite, but like, what's something you would take to a friend who is sick, or someone who just had a baby, or like,
I'm doing that this week. So my friend is having a baby.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think a go-to one that everyone loves is fajitas. So I have a sheet pan fajita meal, and I've taken that to a lot of people, because you have the fajitas, you have the sides. I make some cilantro lime rice or cauliflower rice, depending on how they eat. I have a amazing cilantro lime salsa slaw, kind of like coleslaw, but make it Mexican inspired. So that's a go-to I take to like moms. And
I was like, Oreo truffles?
Oh, throw in some Oreo truffles.
What's funny is you're 100% right. I literally just made the Oreo truffles yesterday, because those...
I'm like, I don't know. I mean, as a breastfeeding mom, I'm pretty sure I would eat the fajitas, but what I really wanted was those truffles.
Yeah, and she's my friend who was like, why is that recipe not in your cookbook? I'm like, I don't know. I screwed up. I should have put that
I
in the
take
cookbook.
them to every cookie exchange, and they are gone.
Yeah.
Like,
Everybody loves them. Yeah.
A protein you always keep stocked.
I mean, I'm a meat stick girl. Like, I didn't think I would be, because I wasn't a big, like, like in the 90s, it was Slim Jims, right? And I didn't like those. I wasn't a big jerky person, but Chomps is my meat stick of preference. I find it the cheapest at Costco. And I always try to keep it in my purse or my car. And I get angry when my car is not restocked because my kids eat them. But it's such a good, keeps my blood sugar stable, takes the edge off my hunger. When you're getting hangry, it takes off that edge so you can go make good food choices. Because really, when we make poor food choices that aren't nourishing us, a lot of times it's because our blood sugar is so low, we're panic mode. We're I got to eat something, anything. And so having a meat stick, have a meat stick will travel helps prevent that.
What's your favorite shortcut ingredient or hack even?
I mean, I love, if you have not purchased Trader Joe's garlic salt grinder, I highly recommend. So there's garlic salts, you could buy the bulk one or whatever. It's okay. But the garlic salt grinder, it's Whole30 compatible. There's no added sugars, dextrose, gums, whatever. It's literally dried garlic, salt. I think there's one other thing in it. We keep it on the table. I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to send my kids to college with it, because sometimes when I'm recipe testing, things don't have enough salt or flavor, or if you're reheating food, chances are it just needs a little bit of garlic salt on it. It'll taste great. So we live and die by the Trader Joe's garlic salt grinder. We put it on everything.
Okay, I didn't even know that existed.
I didn't either. So. I mean, I think I've seen it. Now that you mention it, I think I've seen it.
But you're how would I use that? You just use it all the time. That and the 21 seasoning salute. So people who don't like vegetables or are struggling to love vegetables, you need to find a good seasoning, right? None of us are gnawing on plain broccoli and thinking it's amazing.
Yeah, I tell my patients, I'm what do you think I eat? Raw vegetables? No, I cover everything in the
Yeah.
So if you're new to seasoning vegetables or just want to go to 21 seasoning salute is my other Trader Joe favorite. They have a Mrs. Dash at Walmart that's similar if you don't have Trader Joe's, but it's a good toss the veggies in oil, put this seasoning on it, and you will be good to go.
What about with this might prompt it remaking recipes that didn't go well? You said your kids give you a lot of feedback on recipes. Has that helped in the longevity of being a content creator, for recipe content? Is that just because a recipe doesn't go well the first time doesn't mean that it's going to that it ends there? That there's this evolution of your kids eventually either adapting to liking that food, or they come around to a recipe, or
you tweak it a little bit.
Yeah. Or you've gotten
usually
confident.
It's tweaking.
That no's don't mean no forever.
Yeah. I think everyone can love every vegetable. You just have to find the right recipe. And that's from somebody who grew up a vegetable hater. I liked peas and corn. And I don't even know if a dietitian would consider corn a vegetable anymore. Everyone can love any vegetable. You just have to find the right recipe. So if you're trying to help your family or even yourself learn to like a certain food that you're I know this is healthy. I know I should eat more fish or more vegetables. I just don't. Then finding the right recipe, be persistent in finding the right recipe, because there's even eggplant. I didn't think I'd ever love eggplant. And then I created a hummus recipe in my cookbook that has eggplant in it. And it adds an amazing creamy texture to it that I love. So be persistent in trying different recipes before you write off any certain food group.
Yeah, I think that's so powerful. We're so quick to give up on a food.
I thought I hated Brussels sprouts, but because I grew up eating them steamed, slimy little basketballs. Terrible. I still think those are terrible. But now I love Brussels sprouts. I'm oh, you need to cut them in half, and you need to roast them, and you need to season them well, and add a little garlic aioli, and wow.
So good.
Exactly.
So
all right. Well, before we go, where can listeners find your recipes, meal plan, and your cookbook?
Awesome. Yeah, everything's at Whole Food for 7. That's my website, wholefood47.com, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all the places. I'm Whole Food for 7 because we have a family of 7.
I love that. This has been so good. I'm so happy that you came on and shared with us. I think that the more that we can share about the meal plans, the better, because I think at the end of the day, that's what people are looking for. People think that recipes are going to be enough, and it's just not. They need something that's action oriented.
Well, and when they're oh, I'm good. I have cookbooks, I have recipes, and it's how's that working out for you? Are you actually making dinner all the time? If so, great. If not, come check out my meal plan.